Yes, we're in Sheffield, in Paradise Square. In this square, which now, like everywhere else, is a car park, in 1779, Wesley spoke to his largest ever midweek congregation. The Diocese of Sheffield was created in 1914. The area had previously been part of York Diocese. The parish church became a cathedral. The building is still basically a 15th century perpendicular church, which was much altered in the 19th century. And if now we just turn to our left and walk up the hill, we can have a look at it. There has been a church on this site since Saxon times. The nave was rebuilt by the Victorians, it having become so dilapidated that it had to be pulled down. The east end is divided into 3 parts of roughly equal width. In the centre is the sanctuary with the communion table or altar. On the north side is St. Catherine's Chapel, furnished in memory of the work of women in church ministry. To the south is the Shrewsbury Chapel, now I think usually just called the Lady Chapel. This chapel was added to the church around 1520 by George Talbot, the 4th Earl of Shrewsbury. The Earls of Shrewsbury were the Lords of the Manor of Sheffield. This 4th Earl is seen here with his 2 wives. He first married in 1481 when he was 13. The 6th Earl was a husband of Bess of Hardwick and custodian of Mary, Queen of Scots, during her 14 years' imprisonment at Sheffield Manor. We saw the memorial of Bess of Hardwick in Derby Cathedral. In 1779, John Wesley was denied the pulpit in the church and preached to the crowd in Paradise Square at dawn. The story now gets a little complicated and we're going to need a diagram. So here we have a plan of the cathedral. The area outlined in red is roughly that 15th century parish church we spoke of earlier. During the 1920s, after the church became a cathedral church, there was a plan to reorient the building. This involved creating, in effect, a new church running north to south. Elements of the new building lying to the north of the old nave were actually built. Then the money and/or the enthusiasm ran out. We can stand here in the nave and look over to what would have been that new sanctuary. It is now called St. George's Chapel and is the chapel of the York and Lancaster Regiment. Beyond this is what would have been the Lady Chapel and is now called the Chapel of the Holy Spirit. This chapel tends to be used for the smaller services and is the lightest and airiest part of the cathedral. The screen behind the altar shows Christ and his disciples. The Te Deum window is by Christopher Webb and the stalls are by Ninian Compa. I am told that it is lovely to be here in a service when the choir is singing by candlelight. Also constructed were the crypt, the chapter house, the song school and offices. We'll go back along the nave now to the west end of the cathedral. Incidentally, I am told that the Pevsner Guide describes this cathedral as beguiling. Go and see it, see what you think. The building was extended westwards in the 1960s and a lantern tower was constructed. Together with this new narthex entrance. We'll leave through that doorway now and then we'll be able to see the western extension from the outside. Do go and see it. Sheffield people are quite nice when you get to know them, and you'll be able to take a tram ride from the railway station which will drop you right outside the cathedral.